Technology, ladies and gentlemen, entrepreneurs, kings and queens of destiny. I didn't come here today to inform you. I came here to transform you, because information without transformation is just noise. But when you feel it deep in your soul, technology, not just in your head, that's when your life starts to move. So today I will teach you how to feel it. Why? Because if you can feel it, you can believe it. And if you can believe it, you can receive it. Let's go. Technology. You know what the problem is for most people? They're waiting to feel it before they believe it. Waiting to get the feeling of abundance before they start giving. Waiting to feel confident before they speak up. Technology. Waiting to feel inspired before they start building that business, writing that book, or walking in purpose. But here's the truth: you need to grab hold of feelings, follow faith, not the other way around. Faith is not a mood. But faith is not a vibe. Faith is not waiting for the stars to align or your circumstances to improve. Faith is a decision to believe what God said, even when your senses say otherwise. Technology. If you are waiting for your feelings to give you permission to act, you are already out of order. You were never called to be led by your emotions. You were called to lead your emotions by faith. Hebrews 11:1 says, technology. Faith is the substance things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. That means faith is more real than what you can see, hear, or touch. Faith is the foundation, the real stuff. Technology. Everything you feel is a byproduct of what you believe, and everything you experience starts in the realm of belief. Let me break it down like this. If I told you I was going to put $1 million in your bank account tomorrow, technology, and you actually believed me, how would you feel? You'd feel excited, joyful, maybe even peaceful, right? But nothing in your physical world has changed yet. It's still the same room, same bills, same balance in your account. Technology. Yeah. So what changed? Your belief changed, and because your belief changed, your feelings followed. This is what most people miss. They think their life is limited by what they feel. No. Your life is limited by what you're willing to believe. Technology. And most people believe more in their limitations than they do in their possibilities. They believe in their debt more than their deliverance. They believe in their diagnosis more than their destiny. Technology. They believe in what they see more than what they know. But real faith believes what God said, even when nothing looks like it's working. See, if you only believe when it's look good, that's not faith. That's observation. Technology. But faith kicks in when there's no physical reason to trust, yet you trust anyway. Faith is what fuels the fire inside you before anything external even shifts. And once you got that fire burning, technology, once you've really locked into that belief that it's already yours, your body, your energy, your speech, your decisions, they all start to feel like the future instead of the past. You want to know how to feel your future? Technology. You don't go searching for a motivational quote. You don't wait until you land the deal. You build your faith. Because when you build your faith, the feelings will align, the passion will rise. Technology. The peace will show up in the middle of the storm, because now you're standing on something solid, not something situational. Now, let me tell you why this is so powerful, because feelings can be faked. Feelings can be manipulated. Technology. Feelings are temporary, but faith is eternal. Faith connects you to a reality that's bigger than what you can comprehend. Faith activates the supernatural. Technology. Faith is what allows you to walk around with confidence while everyone else is panicking. Faith is what lets you invest in your vision even when the return hasn't shown up yet. And get this, when you act in faith, technology, you create a new pattern in your spirit. Every time you say, I believe, and you step in action, even though you don't feel it yet, you are training your body and your brain to align with heaven's truth instead of earth's facts. Technology. And eventually your feelings will catch up. You'll start waking up with energy you didn't have before. You'll start getting ideas that didn't show up before. People will ask you what changed, and you'll be able to say, technology. I changed what I believed. I decided to have faith. That's why people who are truly operating in faith feel different. You can sense it when they walk in the room. They carry a power, a peace, and a purpose that you can't fake. Technology. Because they've already felt the promise in their soul long before it showed up in their surroundings. They're not reacting to life. They're creating it with their belief. Let me give you this last thing, technology. If you want to change how you feel, change what you believe. If you want to stop living anxious, stop feeding your faith with fear. Start declaring what God says about you. Start rehearsing your future like it's already done. Technology. And then walk like it, talk like it, serve like it, sell like it, love like it. And one day you'll wake up and realize you don't have to try to feel it anymore. You are it. Yeah, because faith made it real. And now the feelings have followed technology. Let me tell you something that will shake up your entire life. If you receive it, you do not feel what you feel because of what's happening to you. You feel what you feel because of who you believe you are. That's it. Technology. Identity drives emotion. And until you change how you see yourself, you will keep experiencing the same emotional patterns, no matter how much money you make, how many books you read, or how many motivational videos you watch. See, technology. People think their feelings come from their circumstances. I feel broke because I don't have enough money. No, you feel broke because you see yourself as someone who's always lacking. Technology. You've internalized an identity of limitation, and now everything in your life bends to reinforce that idea. Emotions are not random. They are responses to your belief system. And the root of your belief system is how you define you. Technology. You don't act based on what's true. You act based on what you believe is true about yourself. That's why you can put two people in the same room, in the same job, technology, in the same opportunity, and one of them will thrive while the other self-sabotages. Not because of luck, not because of the environment, but because one has a wealth identity and the other has a struggle identity. Technology, you cannot outperform the image you hold of yourself, and your feelings will never rise above your self-concept. That's why some people always feel anxious. That's why others stay stuck in fear. Technology. It's not because they don't have potential. It's because they're wearing the wrong identity. You're still seeing yourself as the rejected one, the one who always gets overlooked, the one who never finishes what they start. Technology. Yeah. And that false identity is fueling your emotional state. Let me go deeper. The enemy doesn't have to steal your dream. All he has to do is distort your identity. If he can get you to see yourself as inadequate, technology, you'll talk yourself out of the room you were born to own. If he can convince you that you're unworthy, you'll sabotage your own success and call it humility. The devil knows your feelings follow your identity, technology, so he attacks your who before he ever touches your what. But let me remind you of the truth. You are not what you went through. You are not what they said about you. You are not your title. You are not your title. You are not your failures. Technology, you're who God says you are, and that means you are powerful, equipped, chosen, royalty, and ready. Not someday, now. But if you don't believe that, you'll never feel the power of it. If you don't internalize that identity, technology, you'll keep feeling like a beggar when you were born to reign. You feel like a fraud because you haven't aligned your emotions with your true identity. And that's where faith comes in, technology. Because if you wait to feel it before you believe it, you'll never step into who you're supposed to be. You've got to believe the truth of your identity, even when your feelings haven't caught up yet. Technology. You've got to walk into rooms where you feel small and remind yourself that you belong there because of who sent you, not because of who they say you are. See, people out here are trying to fix their feelings with self-care and self-talk technology, but they haven't addressed the root, their self-concept. If you see yourself as a king, you'll walk different. If you believe you're valuable, you won't tolerate toxic environments. If you know you're called, technology, you'll stop apologizing for your anointing. You've got to do the internal work of identity before you can experience the external shift of confidence. And hear me, this isn't about arrogance. This is about alignment. Technology, I'm not telling you to hype yourself up with affirmations you don't believe. I'm telling you to go to the source and remember who made you. You were crafted in the image of God. You were created for dominion, not for depression. Technology, you were built for purpose, not for panic. But if you never claim that truth, your emotions will betray you. You'll keep living out a false version of yourself and calling it normal. No, it's not normal to always feel behind. No. Technology. It's not normal to live in a cycle of defeat. No, it's not normal to doubt your value every time you fail. That's a symptom of a stolen identity. And it's time to get it back. You want to feel better. Start being who you actually are. Technology. Stop shrinking. Stop pretending. Stop waiting for permission. Kings don't need approval to dwell, and children of God don't need evidence to believe the inheritance is theirs. Here's the secret. When you upgrade your identity, technology, your emotions will follow, confidence will rise, peace will show up, boldness will kick in. Not because your life is easier, but because your inner world is finally telling the truth. And once that happens, technology, your outer world has no choice but to respond. So I came to tell you this today. Your emotions are not the problem. Your identity is. And if you'll start owning the truth of who you are, technology, you'll start feeling the truth of how you were meant to live, not in fear, not in shame, but in power, in joy, in authority, and in divine alignment. Because when you know who you are, everything else changes in the feeling. Technology. They'll never run your life again. Let me say something that might offend your comfort, but will liberate your destiny. You don't feel stuck because life isn't moving. You feel stuck because you aren't moving. Technology. Motion creates emotion. Movement fuels momentum. And stagnation is the enemy of transformation. You keep waiting on a breakthrough, but the breakthrough is waiting on you to start walking. See, technology. Most people are trying to think their way into a better emotional state. They're sitting around hoping that someday they'll feel confident enough, motivated enough, clear enough to start the business, fix the marriage, write the book, technology, or step into their purpose. But that day never comes because they're living life backwards. They're waiting for emotion to create motion when it's motion that creates the emotion. Technology. Let me tell you a truth that changed my life. Action precedes clarity, not the other way around. You don't need to know all the steps. You don't need to have it all figured out. You just need to move. You take a step in faith, technology, and the feelings you need will show up in motion, not in waiting. You don't feel joy because joy showed up and knocked on your door. You feel joy when you move in alignment with your assignment. Think about this technology. David ran toward Goliath. He didn't feel fearless. He felt purpose. He didn't feel power. He moved in purpose, and the power followed. The moment his feet hit the battlefield, his spirit caught up. Technology, his emotions aligned with his motion. And that's how it works for us. You act first. You move in the direction of your destiny. And once you're in motion, your energy shifts, your spirit awakens, and your emotional state transforms. Technology. But the opposite is also true. When you sit still, dwell in indecision, and wait to feel right, you stagnate, you rot in the present hesitation. You let time slip through your fingers while convincing yourself you're not ready. Technology. But let me be clear, God doesn't give power to the stagnant. He gives power to the obedient. He doesn't fuel idle minds. He fuels faith in motion. Let me ask you something. Technology. When was the last time you did something uncomfortable on purpose? Not because you were forced, not because you were pressured, but because you decided to step into growth. That's where emotional breakthrough begins. Technology, because your body remembers what your spirit initiates. The moment you decide, I'm done sitting on this gift, and you move, something changes. Even if the action is small, it's sacred because God blesses what you do. Technology. not just what you dream. We've been taught to believe that motivation is a feeling that comes before action. But here's the truth. Motivation is a byproduct of action. You want to feel better, move. You want to get out of that depression. Technology. Get up and walk. You want to feel strong again. Start doing what strong people do. You want to feel like a winner, act like one, speak like one, serve like one. Your body has to move before your brain believes. There's a principle behind this. Your physiology shapes your psychology. God didn't create you to be paralyzed by overthinking. He created you to be led by the Spirit, and the Spirit moves. When God said, technology, let there be light, he didn't sit back and wait for the universe to get ready. He spoke and it moved. The word moved the world. And the same power that raised Christ from the dead lives in you. Technology. So why are you still sitting down waiting to feel ready? Sometimes you've got to shake yourself, get out of bed, turn off the distraction, make the call. Hit record, take the class, send the email, ask the question. Technology. Get your body moving in the direction of obedience and your emotions will rise to meet your momentum. That's not psychology, that's divine law. Faith without works is dead. And dreams without action are nothing but distractions. Technology. Let me break it down even more. Movement disrupts fear. It confuses the enemy. He wants you paralyzed by doubt. But every time you move, you declare technology. I still believe. You show the enemy that you are not led by your emotions. You are led by conviction. You are led by faith. And when faith moves, heaven responds. You may not feel it right now. Technology. You may feel tired, discouraged, overwhelmed. I get it. But that feeling doesn't have the final say. You don't need to feel powerful to move. You need to move to feel powerful. And when you do, technology, you activate a force inside you that's been waiting for your permission to ignite. The energy, the inspiration, the clarity, it's all on the other side of obedience. So here's your moment. You don't need another conference. Technology. You don't need another motivational clip. You don't need to sit and wait for the right time. You need to move. Move toward the calling. Move toward the vision. Move toward the version of you that already exists in heaven's eyes. Technology. Because motion is the bridge between belief and breakthrough. And once you move, the emotions you've been praying for, the confidence, the joy, the focus, they'll show up like they never left. Not because you waited for them, technology, but because you led them. You don't feel ready? Good. Move anyway. You don't feel strong? Good. Move anyway. Because when you move, you change the atmosphere. And when the atmosphere shifts, miracles happen. So don't wait to feel it. Technology. Move until you do. Let me tell you the real reason people burn out. It's not because they're doing too much. It's because they're doing too much of the wrong thing or doing the right thing without purpose. Technology, because when you are powered by purpose, what drains other people fuels you. What burdens others builds you. Purpose doesn't just give you direction. It gives you energy. Purpose is the power source. See, technology. You were never designed to run on ambition alone. You weren't created to grind, hustle, and strive without alignment. That's why so many people are exhausted, overwhelmed, and unfulfilled, not because they lack work ethic, technology, but because they lack clarity. They don't know why they're doing what they're doing. They're chasing money with no mission. They're building brands with no blueprint from heaven. They're moving fast, but going nowhere. Technology. But when you discover your purpose, when you lock in on what you were created to do, everything shifts, energy multiplies, focus sharpens, fear shrinks. You start living from a different source. Technology. You don't have to manufacture motivation because meaning becomes your momentum. You don't have to beg yourself to show up because you know why you're here. And when you know why, you'll endure anyhow. Technology. That's why Jesus could endure the cross, because of the joy set before him. Purpose gave him power to keep going through pain. Purpose gave him clarity through chaos. And the same is true for you. When your purpose is clear, technology. Your decisions become easy. Your life gets simplified. You stop wasting time on things that don't feed your calling. You start walking like someone on assignment because that's exactly what you are. Technology. Let me tell you something. The enemy is not afraid of your talent. He's not threatened by your ideas. What he's terrified of is you discovering your purpose. Because once you connect with that, you become dangerous. Technology, you become unstoppable. You become a force of impact. Why? Because you're no longer fueled by applause. You're no longer moved by fear. You don't need external validation because you've got internal conviction. See, technology. Most people are living by accident instead of on assignment. They wake up reacting to life, drifting through their days, wondering why they're always tired, always stressed, always second guessing themselves. Technology. It's not because they don't have potential. It's because they're disconnected from purpose. And purpose is not some vague idea or lofty dream. It's the specific reason you were placed on this earth. Technology. It's the divine why behind everything you do. Purpose gives pain a place. Purpose turns frustration into fuel. Purpose transforms your life from chaos to calling. And here's the beautiful part. Technology. Your purpose isn't about you. It's about who you're called to serve. And when you realize that, your problems shrink. Because now you understand this ain't about how I feel today. This is about who I'm assigned to bless. Technology. This is about legacy. This is about obedience. This is about impact. And when you're living in purpose, you get access to supernatural energy. You stop burning out because you're no longer carrying it alone. Technology. You're plugged into the source. You're flowing with divine momentum. You stop striving and start thriving. Because the grace of God flows strongest when you're walking in what he called you to do. Technology. That's why some people can work longer hours, face bigger problems, deal with heavier responsibilities, and still have joy, still have peace, still wake up with excitement. Technology. not because life is easier for them, but because they're aligned. They're powered by something deeper than deadlines and paychecks. They're powered by purpose. You ever wonder why some people glow when they speak? Technology, why their words hit different, why their presence fills the room. It's not charisma, it's clarity. Purpose produces presence. When you speak from your purpose, people feel it. When you create from your purpose, technology, people are transformed by it. When you serve from your purpose, your impact multiplies. But if you're tired, discouraged, stuck, it might be time to ask a deeper question. Technology, not what do I need to do, but why am I doing it? Because if the why is wrong, the what won't work. If your source is performance, you'll always be empty. If your source is people pleasing, you'll always be drained. Technology. But if your source is purpose, watch out. Because now you're not just building a business, you're building a mission. Now you're not just posting content, you're preaching purpose. Now you're not just showing up, you're sent. Technology, and hear this, you don't find your purpose by chasing comfort. You find it by listening to what breaks your heart, what stirs your spirit, makes you come alive. Your purpose is often hidden in your pain, buried in your past. Technology, whispered through your gifts. And when you stop ignoring that voice and you start walking in it, power follows. So if you've been running on empty, it's time to reconnect with your power source. Not your income, not your image, technology, not your influence, your purpose. Because that's where the fire is. That's where the anointing flows. That's where the overflow begins. And when you're powered by purpose, you don't have to fake energy, technology. You don't have to hype yourself up. You don't have to wait for perfect conditions. You just move. You just show up. You just create. And heaven backs you every single time. Because purpose is not a luxury. It's your source. Plug in, Tetra, and light the world up. So I came here today not to teach you to think better. I came to teach you to feel it, feel the power, feel the promise, feel the presence of what's already inside of you. Because when you feel it, technology, you'll believe it. When you believe it, you'll speak it. When you speak it, you'll see it. And when you see it, your life will never be the same again. Thank you. God bless you.